Thank you all for joining today. So, allergies, let's talk allergies and the connection to gut health. It's a really exciting topic. I think there's so many people who needlessly suffer from some form of allergy symptoms, and it's very debilitating. And I'll share my personal story with allergies. So, I was born with acute allergies. I'm 40 years old, and I had asthma from birth, so really sensitive to pet dander. And they noticed very quickly when they brought me home as a newborn. We had a dog, and I had an asthma attack and I had to be hospitalized. Definitely very susceptible. And then all through my childhood, my adolescence, my 20s and my 30s,
Service.
I had those allergies to dogs. Dogs, cats, pet dander, like horses, horsehair, things like that. If I was around animals who shed, might get I'd have shortness of breath. I'd feel my throat closing up. My eyes would water and get very itchy. Just very uncomfortable, really unpleasant. So much so that I couldn't have sleepovers at kids' houses who had cats and dogs. You couldn't have any pets that shed. Even dogs that didn't shed, I would get a reaction from. And then, God forbid, I saw like was near a horse, like the long hairs of a horse. Those seemed to do extra damage to my allergies. I was really sensitive, so I'd be out for the day. How I managed to deal with them is like most people. I would get antihistamines. So from a young age, I was taking Ventolin, which is an asthma inhaler, so that if I ever had an allergy reaction that was pretty severe, I couldn't breathe, so I had to take Ventolin. I also took a steroid called Pulmicort, and these things, what they did was they suppressed the symptoms, so they give you some relief, but it's temporary. And much like when you take too much antibiotics, you're going to form a natural resistance to the antibiotic, to the medication, and you'll need more and more of it. It'll be less effective. So I was never really getting to the root cause of these issues. So allergies, that solving the issue of allergies usually eludes a lot of people because they look to medications. They get the Flonase or the Reactine, whatever's available and easy to use. They form a dependency on these superficial temporary symptom blockers but never get to the root cause. So that's why we're here today, is to discuss how do we get to the root issue. And what I discovered when I changed my diet, about 5 years ago, we went plant-based. That really helped a lot with my asthma. It's cutting out dairy because it's very inflammatory. It creates a lot of mucus in the body. So cutting out dairy, I noticed a significant improvement in my breathing. My respiratory health vastly improved, but I still had those allergies. I was still allergic to cats and dogs. I still had seasonal allergies. We discovered gut health through a geneticist in Montreal. I didn't know much about it. I knew about soil health. I was very interested in the health and regeneration of soil. And gut health seemed to align with that. Same kind of language, same kind of technology that they use to improve and detoxify soil. They can work in your gut microbiome. So we discovered Purium and Biomedic specifically as a gut repair solution. And within, I would say, 3 weeks, a month, I did not have allergies anymore. And I know because my wife's parents have two dogs that shed. And I went over, and like normal, I was bracing myself to start having wheezing and allergies, and it wasn't there. And I further tested this by being around cats who would normally trigger me tremendously, and I'm kissing a cat for the first time in my life, rubbing my face right up next to it, and feeling fine. So it seemed like a miracle. It seemed too good to be true. But what we discovered is that through gut health and through lifestyle change, you can really alleviate these symptoms and possibly heal entirely from it. My wife Allison also suffered from eczema, which is it's essentially inflammation of the skin. So we're making these connections now between your bacteria in your gut and how that affects how your organs work, how your lungs work, how your mucus is produced in your body. So it's almost like an acceleration of that process. A doctor or a nutritionist who's telling you, or your child, if you want to get rid of your allergies, you have to completely change your diet. You have to start taking probiotics. You have to improve your gut health. That is like a long-term solution. Here, I fast-tracked it. I took what would take normally years and years. It took me months, weeks to do that because of the power of the biomedic, because it's actively removing glyphosate. It's restoring that bacterial balance. And quickly, just about gut microbiome in a nutshell, this is in your lower intestine, you have good and bad bacteria, which essentially controls how well your organs function, how well you absorb nutrition, how well you detoxify. If there's an imbalance there, then you'll have what they call leaky gut. That is not a disease. It's essentially like the beginning of the causes of symptoms of leaky gut, which range from respiratory issues, depression, obesity, digestive issues, and the list goes on and on. How it pertains to allergies is it's creating more mucus in your body, more than your body can handle. So if you have a diet which consists of a lot of processed foods, of animal products, there's a excess mucus in your body that you just don't know how to deal with. So it creates respiratory issues, it creates asthma, it creates allergies. So I balanced myself out, and very quickly I saw those results. So, and Allison too, she got rid of her eczema. She had really bad eczema on her hands. My youngest child had eczema on her feet really bad. And we noticed all these things vanish. And when we ran out of products, when we were in Belize last year, I started sneezing again. I started getting allergies again for the first time in a couple of years. So I know that this stuff works, and it's about maintenance. So, and I'd much rather have a higher quality of life taking superfoods than overdosing on antihistamines and paying for that. So this is a better option. It's a safer, more sustainable pathway to allergy relief. So I'd like to pass the mic, if you will, to Stephanie, because she's amazing. She has an incredible story as well. And yeah, please take it away, Stephanie.
Thank you, Jared. I do have a super amazing story. I reckon I was born with allergies. I remember being a little girl and having a very hard time running around and playing with my friends. I would lose my breath. I would get coughing. Coffee turn into terrible and embarrassing, nasty things for my mother. Bless her heart. I did grow out of them at a very young age. I guess I thought, some people, we used to hear that you grow into allergies and grow out of allergies. So I thought that's what had happened. Lucky me, I grew out of this terrible thing. Turns out it come back with a vengeance. In my early 20s, I all of a sudden could not be outside. I could not be around the horses. I could not mow the grass anymore. It come back to the point of where I was taking 2 Zyrtec a day. I lived on Zyrtec. I tried all of the other ones. I guess I should say like popular brand allergy medicine, right? I was 2. I was at least 2 a day, 1 in the morning, 1 at night. I always had ibuprofen on me because the allergy medicine alone may keep the migraine from setting in. But once the face pain and the migraine did set in, inevitably, I was for ibuprofen every 3 or 4 hours. I was very much over medicating myself. And just as a product of the television screen, that really was my doctor telling me, if you have these symptoms, this is what you need. So I lived on it. And it still wasn't good enough. I live in Missouri. I live in North Missouri. I live amongst the farm ground and amongst the cows and the horses. I very much enjoy being in the timber. So it was just something, in order to live the life that I wanted to live, That was the only choice that I thought I had, was living on Zyrtec. So I was very pleased when my bestest girlfriend, Leslie, had introduced me to Purium. I had been on, I started Purium just October 1st of last year, 2021. I started it solely for my weight. I lived only for my weight. And so what happened there is I was only concentrating on my weight going down and didn't realize everything else that was happening. You really do get a full body transformation. It's so true. Everything that they say about Purium is true. I not only suffer with seasonal allergies, but I was going to the doctor. I had so many food allergies. I was allergic to perfume. I was allergic to laundry soap. I was allergic to everything outside, everything inside. And so, I was sent home from the doctor with this huge list of stuff that I had to stay away from. Get this out of your diet. Don't go around this stuff. And I was miserable. You can't cut everything out and never go outside. So I definitely was a product of the pharmacies, I guess. I thought so. 3 months into my transformation, I started becoming very, very in tune with my body because of the gut health. I was so loaded down with toxins that my body could not communicate with itself. So absolutely, I was covering up symptoms with like topical stuff. So basically, I'm proud to say that I no longer suffer with allergies, food or seasonal or perfume or laundry soap. And the most amazing part is I didn't even realize that I didn't have allergies anymore until a few weeks ago. I come across Allison's post, and she was asking about allergies. And I thought, I don't even have that anymore. For years, for 10 plus years, I've lived with so much Zyrtec and so much biofreeze and heating pads and sinus pressure. And so it's true. It's true. Like, your gut health fixes everything. I'm going to turn it over to Brianna.
Thank you for sharing, Stephanie. And I so relate to everything you guys are, especially Jared. I was born with asthma and allergies, and we always had cats. And so we bought expensive vacuums, and I always had to be on neb treatments. And my inhaler, I was married to it my whole life. I could not do anything without my inhaler. I remember a kid, and my mom would have to write notes that I couldn't participate in gym class or go outside for recess because I couldn't breathe, especially during times when it was allergy season. I live in so springtime, after the winter, everything blooms at once, and it's terrible when you have allergies and asthma mixed because exacerbate each other. So what really got me, I owe everything to Jared, really, with the Purium journey, because I saw Allison post about how he got off all his asthma medications and allergy medications. And I was just so inspired by that, because I knew being on the medication my whole life, it's not good for you. Long term on pharmaceuticals, there's so many side effects, and especially asthma medication. I was on Advair, and that, it says in the commercials even, it increases risk of asthma related death. It helped temporarily, but I knew I wouldn't be around long term. Like for my kids especially, I want to see them grow up and have grandkids, and I knew it wasn't a sustainable way to live on a bunch of medications. And I also just recently read that the medication I was on for allergies my whole life, Singular, it's linked to suicidal thoughts and actions. And they've just released this, which is interesting because I was always on it my whole life. And I was very depressed as a teenager, and I'd self-harm and developed an eating disorder and stuff like that. So I think it's all connected in a way. It all stems to gut health. It really does. And your gut microbiome, determines your mental health, your overall well-being, the way you feel. Also, my passion in life is to be around animals. I have a micro sanctuary and I want to save animals. And my whole purpose, I feel like, on this earth is to help animals, but it's so contradicting in my life when you want to help animals, but you're allergic to them. It just made no sense to me. I was like, there has to be a cure or a way that I can live my purpose. And because the universe isn't going to put me on this earth for my purpose to be that and not allow me to do that. So ever since I started the Purium journey in January, after seeing Allison's post about Jared, I barely use my inhaler anymore at all. And I used to be married to it like that. Sometimes I can tell if I eat, like, go to a restaurant or something, and I do eat more processed foods, my asthma will get more irritated and I'll have to use my inhaler more. But luckily we have Biome, and the Purium products help so much because it just helps overall inflammation and mucus production. So I'm just so grateful for that. I am off my Advair, all preventative inhalers, which I've taken my whole life. So I'm grateful for that too. So my heart is thankful for that because it's just, those preventatives are no good. No Singular anymore. So my mental health is a lot better. I don't have feelings of being depressed or self-harm. I don't have self-harm tendencies anymore. And so it's just amazing. But it's really interesting that I learned that about that Singular, the side effect for that. It's just terrible because there's so many side effects of everything. They put Band-Aids, the pharmaceutical company does, puts a Band-Aid on everything. And it's just terrible side effects for you. It really just does no good. But I just want to say thank you to Jared for his inspiring story about getting rid of asthma and allergies, because I'm so grateful for this. I really am. No more hives, and now I can live my purpose and help animals and not have to worry about having an asthma attack or hives everywhere. And it's just great. So thank you so much, Jared.
Thank you. Wow. Thank you, Stephanie and Brianna, for sharing your incredible, touching stories. And I think this is what the future is. We're looking to people who are representations of the health that they want. You can't look to a pharma-funded television commercial for any indicator of long-term relief. The Band-Aid solution, the Band-Aid doesn't last. It doesn't work. You're essentially just masking symptoms without getting to the root cause. You're essentially a cash cow for a pharmaceutical company if you suffer from allergies. So what we want to do is alleviate the inflammation. So the science is in that people, adults who suffer, and children who have allergy symptoms, they have a different gut microbiome makeup than other people who do not. So that is proven. There's human clinical trials for that. And how do we navigate that space is we do our best to reduce inflammation, right? And that's what Purium fast tracks. It accelerates that process where you're reducing CRP levels, C-reactive protein, which is the biomarker for inflammation. You're reducing those naturally with just food. And what's also really important is it changes your relationship with food. If you consume a lot of processed foods, a lot of sugar, a lot of starch, these are not good for the gut. And the reason is those bad bacteria send molecules, signals to your brain that you want more sugar, more processed food. If you change that the makeup, then you will crave healthier foods. You'll want more raw, whole food, plant-based options. You'll feel more satisfied with less food. So ultimately, we're changing the way people eat. We're changing their relationship with food, and food really is the source issue for a lot of these issues. Children are born with allergies. They're born with nut allergies, with food allergies, because they're carrying the same gut health from their mother. So this does translate through the womb to the unborn child. This is why we're seeing more and more children born with gluten intolerances. And yes, Tammy, it does help with nut allergies, absolutely. I would be careful if you have severe allergies, if you use like an EpiPen or anything, to tread carefully. Obviously, repair your gut as best you can naturally, and then maybe you can start testing in a controlled environment if you can tolerate the nuts. But what we want to encourage everyone is to experiment. Try something like Biomedic, try the Ultimate Lifestyle Transformation. There's no risk involved. If it doesn't work or you don't like it, you can get your money back. But most people we've worked with, we've helped thousands of people now deal with leaky gut symptoms. They've all found relief in terms of their inflammation or symptoms of inflammation. So this is it. This is really a pathway. This is an alternative to what most people know about, and discover it for yourself. That's really important. And just we'll touch on quickly before we end here on gluten intolerance. Okay, so gluten allergies, that is someone who cannot handle wheat bread, and an extreme form of that is celiac disease, where their body absolutely rejects it. Most people are gluten intolerant, but it's actually the glyphosate that's causing the issue in most cases. It's the harmful toxin, that water-soluble residue called glyphosate in pesticides that ends up in all wheat, corn, and soy. So the Biomedic, it actually contains a wheat germ extract that does the repair, and then people could actually tolerate wheat from that. So this is just like we're scratching the surface here, but these testimonials should give you pause if you are taking the age-old route of antihistamines and inhalers and superficial treatments like that. This is something different, and we're seeing over and over again how well it works. So yeah, I'll leave you all with that. Thank you so much for your time. Please share this with anyone you know who's suffering with allergies. I hate to think of young children who can't run and play with their friends, who can't be around animals that they love because of symptoms that are repairable. We can fix this together, so let's do it one gut at a time. Thank you so much, Stephanie. Thank you, Brianna. If you want to say any last words, go ahead. But otherwise, we appreciate and love you all. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you, everyone, for watching. And I appreciate you all. And thank you, Jared, so much for introducing me to Purium.
Thank you. Thank you guys so much. It was an honor. Thank you.
Appreciate all of you. Please share. Thanks again, guys.
Bye-bye.
Have a great day.